right, so I'm going to tell you about how James Pearce is such a difference maker and why he's such a good player. And you're going to go and tell it to somebody else who's either a pessimistic Falcons fan, and they're going to be like, let me know when he gets to the game because the Falcons always Falcon every year. It's just practice, snarf, snarf. And if they're a hater or a rival fan, they're just going to hit you with the, well, the Falcons suck anyway, and you lost 28-3 in the Super Bowl. Ha, 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 snarf, snarf. It's just practice. Everybody turns into Allen Iverson when it comes to sports analysis about practice.
I know it's important. I do. I honestly do. But we talking about practice, man. What are we talking about? Practice? We talking about practice, man.
But you know who didn't poo-poo practice? Kobe Bean Bryant.
A drink, Mr. Bryant?
Yeah, I'll have a vodka martini.
How many olives would you like?
81.
You tell them that everybody has an opinion and they all stink. So hop into the bird bath with your stinking ass. What's going on, family? It's your boy C-Mo the C Mitchell with another episode of the Falcons Bird Bath by Point Game Official. Shout out to all our loyal subscribers, supporters, and occasional guests. If you haven't already, hit that like and subscribe button below. Stay up to date with our thoughts and opinions on the team throughout the rest of the preseason, going into the rest of the regular season. The Falcons had another open practice, and I don't want to beat a dead horse, but James Pearce Jr. really looks like that dog that you want. And I'm talking about you really have a reason to be happy if you're a Falcons fan. Listen, Terry Fontenot is looking smarter and smarter by the day with the way that this kid is playing in practice. He is just an all-out wrecking ball that wreaks havoc on offenses. During the team period where there was ones versus ones, and even when he played with the second team, he was just always in the backfield, always getting to the quarterback, always being disruptive, even on run plays. And to be honest with you, the defense really looks like it's playing with a whole different attitude.
There's been a lot of talk about the aggressiveness and the attacking and the violence kind of this defense and what they're trying to create. Have you kind of noticed that, like creating?
Yeah, I've noticed it.
Yeah.
But we the same way too.
Yeah.
I think they're adding James Pearce Jr., but then also adding Leonard Floyd.
Yeah, that's Flo, my guy, since day one. Just how much I can learn from him. Mike Eckler from Tennessee recruited me. He coached Leonard at Georgia. I've been hearing that since I've been recruiting from colleges. Leonard Floyd. So the chance that God lined it up for me to be able to play with him his first year here, my first year here, is just, I don't question it.
And when you take the philosophy that Jeff Ulbrich has brought to this defense about being an attack-style defense. Something that I love that Caden Ellis talked about previously, that when he looked at the plays and breakdowns, when he talked to the coaches in meetings, he saw arrows going everywhere, telling players, hey, here's where you go. There's none of this, let me hold the guy up and read and react to wherever we're going. We have a bunch of speed, undersized, but powerful players. They're letting James Pearce Jr. go out here, just pin his ears back.
Do you enjoy kind of being like the instigator, kind of the guy that gets things going, the trash talk starting, that kind of stuff?
I don't really say all that, but I just like playing my role, and I know coming off the edge, it's a physical game. Up front in the trenches, it's a little bit more physical than the back end. So you got to play with some type of edge and some type of compassion for it.
Learning how to play in every practice and become more of a professional. But he's standing out, doing everything that you would want out of a first-round player, and he's actually performing more like a top 10 pick than a bottom 10 pick. And I think it's going to be really hard to keep him off the field. You know, this staff seems to be making him earn it, and he is earning every bit of it on every rep that he gets out there in practice. He's always with the first of the second unit, but they're mixing them with different combinations. There's times where they have him out there with Leonard Floyd, and there's times where they have him out there with even Harrison, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who he goes against. There's just a different type of swagger that comes with the defense. And the more that I look at him, I think that he's a little bit less of a situational player, and he actually has a real, genuine opportunity at Defensive Rookie of the Year. Now, one player that got to practice today that we've been waiting on for quite a bit of time was Bralen Trice. He was out there playing with the ones and playing with the twos, and he looked really good. And I don't just mean he looked good for a guy coming off of an injury. He looked good in general. I think that he's going to be a very good rotational piece for us. And I think he's going to push for a lot of playing time with the starters. I think that as the season progresses, he's definitely going to push for a lot more playing time playing out there on the edge. Now, when I saw him, he lined up basically as only an edge rush defender with his hand in the ground. So he seemed very comfortable being able to do that, but he held his own when they ran at him. Passing downs, he was able to actually generate a little bit of pass rush as well, too. So he's definitely a guy with a nice skill set on him that can do a multitude of different things. But I think that he's going to be able to keep building on his repertoire and getting better. I think he's going to be able to build on the skills that he already has and the natural strength that he already has and aggression. but he's always going to be able to be fresh as well, too, because we're going to have a platoon approach with our pass rush this year. Now, he's not a speed rusher, like I told you, definitely a power rusher, but he's a guy that has a motor on him. Arnold Ebiketie was out there a lot as well, too, and he was good, but he definitely wasn't standing out the way that James Pearce Jr. was. Now, there's a guy, and I forget what his name is, but he's been commenting on a little bit of my work so far, and he's been telling me that he thinks that Arnold Ebiketie is going to be the starter along with Leonard Floyd. I think that there's a possibility of that, but I believe that when Jalen Walker actually gets out there, which he wasn't practicing today because he had a hamstring that he's still been dealing with, and that's the problem why he's been out of practice is a hamstring, and the coaches want to keep him, cautious. I think he's going to push a lot more for playing time once he's out there healthy, and I just think that James Pearce Jr. is going to be so hard to keep off the field. But Arnold Ebiketie was out there showing up on different plays out there in practice, and undoubtedly, I think that having more depth is going to help out all of our team all the way around on the defense. Now, in the previous video, I talked a bit about Zach Harrison, and this practice also continued to stand out as a player. I really love the way that they're utilizing Zach Harrison. He's a guy that they're moving around all up and down the line, literally. I don't think you have any one defined role for him on that defense. He literally is lining up over the tight end as an outside edge when we have nickel packages and when teams are going 11 personnel against us. But they're also lining them up right there in the B gap, in the 3 technique. Hell, they're even lining them up at nose and lining them up in a 1 at times. He has enough length and strength and versatility to play wherever you want him at on the line. And honestly, I think he's really an X-Factor player. He's going to be huge for us. He's one of those guys that fulfills a little bit of everything that everybody on the defensive line does. One of those jack-of-all-trade type of guys that it doesn't matter if you start him or wherever you play him. You're going to give him significant minutes. But I think that on early downs, there's a high possibility that he could be the starter with a speed rusher on the opposite end of him. Now, I don't know what they have Zach Harrison listed at right now, but he looks way bigger than what I saw him listed at before, which was around 270. He looks like he's about 290 maybe. So I love the playing weight that he's at right now, regardless of what it is. I don't know what it is, but he looks very comfortable out there. If you have an outside run to his direction or you have a scrambling quarterback, I think that he has enough speed and enough length that he could kind of force things back inside. I think he's going to be one of those blue-collar pivotal players for us that doesn't always show up on the stat sheet, but at the end of the year, he might have maybe 4 to 6 sacks, and he's going to have a lot of tackles for losses, but he's going to be able to make a lot of other players make plays out there because of what he allows you to do with your defense versatility and what he allows you to do in several different packages. I think that if you want to move him to the interior on some of the passing downs, I think you're not going to be missing a step out there. Now, as far as offensively, Michael Penix looked good. He had a few passes that he was off on, but these are some of the growing pains that I'd rather him actually get out while he's in practice. He's really been working on his intermediate passing game, and he's actually getting a little bit better about it, especially with his shorter passing game as well, too. Pitts actually got to participate a little bit in the team period as well, too, with the ones on offense. And Michael Penix actually looked for him a little bit on some of those underneath routes that you would actually go to on tight ends as a safety valve. So that's something to help him to get back to that elite tight end status that we saw him with as a rookie. Another guy who stood out in practice today on the offensive side was Josh Simon. Now, Joshua Simon is an undrafted free agent, and he did all his damage playing with the second unit and against the #1 defense, but he's got some moves. I like him a little bit as a tight end in space. I think that he's a guy that might actually have a chance to be able to make the team. There's still a lot more football to play, and there's a lot more competition in camp right now. Overall, I mean, he's a guy that was standing out, number 47, so look out for him. He might be able to make it moving forward. Xavier Watts continues to impress out there.
I mean, he's out there with the ones working, and he's doing his thing, you know, right beside Jesse. So, and Jesse's mentoring him, and he's soaking it all in.
I saw Fuller a lot more with the ones, but I'm really excited about this rookie class that we have. I think this is really genuinely one of the best draft classes that the Falcons have had in quite a while. I think a lot of people get caught up in players being Pro Bowlers or people being all pros or whatever, but you want to look for guys that could come out here and just be really good and make it hard for the other team at different points of times. You want guys who could be playmakers and difference makers when you need them to come in the clutch. But it's not always about being a Pro Bowler, and it's not always about having 10 sacks. Sometimes if you can have a multitude of guys who go out here and perform well and just grow and continue to play for you, that's worth more. Out of your rookies, you're not always looking for these guys to become Pro Bowlers or necessarily get Rookie of the Year or actually get some type of award. Sometimes you want guys who could just come in and play like a regular veteran as a rookie. Sometimes that goes a long way. Being able to have a guy who could be a day one starter or a near day one starter and get some really meaningful starting reps in his first year is huge for your team as you're developing. And I really like what the Falcons have done out here. Terry Fontenot's actually hit on a lot of the draft picks that he's actually made, a bit more than people would actually give him credit for. A lot of people like to criticize him for some of his draft picks, but Matthew Bergeron has been huge for us, and he's becoming one of the better guards in the league. And I think that we're going to see a lot of similar things with players like Bralen Trice moving forward. I think Arnold Ebiketie is going to probably have a good year as well too. But I think that Jalen Walker and James Pearce Jr., for sure. One player that we haven't talked about at all during this offseason, and he played in 2 games last year, is Khalid Kareem. First day of padded practices, I actually saw him out there a great deal, and that continued today as well too. He got a lot of rotation out there as an edge rusher, and I kind of like his game a little bit. He's not the flashiest guy. He's not necessarily a guy that I think is going to get you 6 to 10 sacks or anything like that, but I think he's a nice little rotational piece that if you put him out there, he's actually pretty good against the run, and he can actually give you a little bit with your pass rush as well too. He's a guy that snuffs out screens pretty well and just has a motor on him. He's just one of those really work you guys. You got to appreciate a guy like that who can come in and spell guys whenever you need a little bit of a rotation to give your guys a breather. He's not saying that he's anything that we need to be looking at as our difference maker for us necessarily, but it's nice to have rotational guys like that that can keep your team fresh a little bit more. And if you actually have some guys down, you can actually plug them in a little bit more. And I think that that's kind of the scenario we got going on right now. With them being down Jalen Walker and not necessarily having everybody up to par in practice right now, you're going to need guys that have a little bit more depth in, kind of like his game. So Raymond McLeod is also becoming more of a consistent, reliable option for Michael Penix as well, too. He's definitely getting a lot more chemistry with all of his players, but I actually saw them off to the side doing a little bit more one-on-one work with each other toward the end of practice. So that's something to look out for a little bit more, too. Ray McLeod has been huge for us. I know that you guys might think I'm giving him a little bit of flack or whatnot, but at the end of the day, I do appreciate what he's been able to do for this team. He's been able to be a guy that's just kind of broken out away from what you would have normally expected, and I like what he's done with a lot of his opportunities. It's just a really tough guy that even at his size, he'll come down and crack back on guys in the line of scrimmage inside the box and, give you a little something in the run game as a run blocker. So really like the attitude that we're having with our team. It's not only the offense being dominant, we have a defensively minded team now who wants to give you that bite back as well too. So I think it's a lot for you to be happy about as we move forward as a Falcons fan. The rookies that we have are guys that really, truly love football. All right, guys, that's our show for today. Stay tuned for the rest of the offseason as we hit you with more analysis on our thoughts on any of the moves that we're making in the rest of the offseason. As we go into some of the preseason games and some of the joint practices moving forward. C-Mo to C. Mitchell, Falcons Bird Bath. Check it out.